morning. My name is Lori. Welcome to my channel. We are quilters. Today is Blabfest Friday. I have several topics to talk about. My first one is the progress on the lovely little weather quilt right here. Right now I have 21 blocks finished. I have several that are cut and ready to be sewn. It's just a matter of sitting down and putting them through the machine. And I also have some that I need to cut out. So I'm making some progress. 21 finished blocks is not bad, considering it's only the beginning of February. Here is how I keep my fabric organized. I have this lovely basket, and I have used my color key out of my book to have bags of yellow and purple and whatever colors I need. And as I go, even though there's only 21 blocks finished, that has become less already. So I know that there are some colors I'm going to need to restock, like the gray, because at this rate, I'm not going to have any gray left. So there's my little update on the weather quilt. It seems to be going pretty well. And we did travel last weekend, and I was able to keep up. So it seems to be going all right. So the next topic is the Valentine quilt. Well, here it is, laying on the top of the pile. My husband still hasn't seen it, even though it's laying on the top of the pile in the dining room. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that pile. It's shameful. It's all the years that I have quilted and not finished some stuff, and I'm sure that there are other quilts lurking in my room somewhere, because I've noticed an absence of some tops that I haven't finished or given away. So I need that one corner. I'm not even going to show you a picture because, oh, it's just shameful. We'll get to that some other day, way down the road. So here it is on the top. I still need to get it done, but my friend Barb is coming tomorrow to quilt for the first time a baby quilt. So I don't want to put it on the quilt frame yet. I want it to be open for her to get her project done, because I like to share my space. So here it's going to stay. It might be a late February quilt. I'll show it to him later on. If it's not done, he still will love it. It'll be all right. The next thing I have to show you, and I'm going to change where I am sitting because I'm going to show you detailed pictures of the cabin quilt. Hang on a second. Now you won't have to look at two versions of the cabin quilt, the one behind me and the up-close pictures. So I did a couple things with this quilt. It was a kit, but there was extra fabric in it. So I added some extra pieces to it from the leftover fabric. So it is not the original kit. I did buy this kit at Holly's Quilt Cabin in Colorado. I think it's in Centennial. But it was a very simple pattern. The 5 stars, the main fabric with the animals, and then 2 borders. And so I added the row at the top and the bottom with the fussy cut animals. Now, this was a very simple quilt, and it's been done for 2 years, the top anyway. I decided that because I bought this lovely chalk marker, that I was going to fancy it up. And I've done feathers on the machine before, but I didn't want them to show so much that if I didn't do a good job, that it would be like, ugh, every time I looked at it. So I used brown thread, but they turned out, this is like the best quilting I think I have ever done. And the machine didn't snag and snarl on the back, and just fantastic. So I put feathers along the top, big long bump out feathers. I did a heart in the middle because I was able to draw straight lines with chalk. I'm not big on doing rulers. I do like custom quilting. So there it is. And I did a swirly whirly down the sides of my own creation. I've not seen that anywhere else. We all seem to think alike and have the same muse, but I've not seen that anywhere. In the big part of the quilt, I just went with the contour lines of the mountains and the lakes and the animals and just quilted back and forth. And I also added a little Sasquatch, since I talked about the Sasquatch statue at the cabin. And then I added the label. The backing, I bought this big piece of fabric at a yard sale for like $1. And because it had moose, my husband really likes moose, and it had the schoolhouses, and we were thinking about retiring at that point, it just seemed appropriate. And then I had purchased the yard of fabric with the little moose and bears and deer somewhere else. And so I filled in around the edges, and then any scraps I had from the front I used for the back to make it wide enough. So it turned out better than I thought it would. I feel like Pat Morita when on the Karate Kid movie, when he was so proud of what his student had accomplished. I'm very happy with the way this turned out. I especially like that little Sasquatch that I used rotary purse applique, put him on the front. So cute, so cute. As I was watching YouTube, I came across a junk journal site, that rabbit hole. Sometimes it just sucks you right in. I'll put a link down below to the one I've been watching, Natasha. She has a very interesting Australian accent, but she never shows her face in her videos. She only shows her hands and the stuff she's making. And it's amazing how much stuff she can get into one of those junk journals. Anyway, I digress. As I was looking for a book to, it's so hard to rip apart a book. I was looking for a book that was out of date. Nobody loved, nobody wanted it. I was going to donate it to Goodwill. And I figured they're not going to really want it either. They'd end up selling it by the pound to some paper recycle place. So I was starting to rip it apart, and I found a picture of this fantastic box for crayons. And it got me thinking, I have an old sewing box. My sister gave it to me. It was destined for the junk heap, but she didn't want to throw it away. So I have this box, and I'm going to turn it into an adult art box for crayons and markers and colored pencils and a pencil sharpener. It needs some work, some paint, some sanding, but inside it was all this fabulous stuff. It had tape measures and pin cushions. Look at this little antique pin cushion from Placid Lake, New York, and buttons and all kinds of stuff. It's like a Where's Waldo or an I Spy laying here on my table. So I need to find homes. And this box of, it looked like it was old Christmas cards, but it has hundreds of little clippings from a newspaper column. So I need to look at those and read through them. I'm sure I'll be inspired. I'm sure the lady who clipped them was inspired by those. But I wanted to share it with you now, and I'll share it with you again after summer, because it's headed to Michigan, where I want my son to help me redo it. He's into a woodworking phase, and he's good at recreating things or creating things from old things to something brand new. In that same vein, during COVID, when we first bought the cabin, I needed a sewing toolbox. I carry this thing with me to quilt camps and around, but I didn't want to have to drag it back and forth every time we went from one house to another, because we do that frequently when doesn't matter where we're staying. So I bought this one, I think at Joann Fabrics. And I looked, and because everybody all of a sudden had an interest in sewing and doing things at the beginning of COVID when we were all trapped at home, I couldn't find one. I couldn't find one anywhere. Couldn't find one that I liked on Amazon. Just couldn't find one. So my solution is this little tiny box, but it doesn't have room for longer things like tweezers and things that you need sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. So I found a box at a yard sale for $1. And oh, it's beat up. It's got leather on the outside, but you can see that the corners are missing, and the inside has a plastic tray of some sort. I don't know what was in this. It has some kind of plastic tray. I am going to take the plastic tray out and put some other kind of fabric in there, and I'm going to sand and paint this whole thing so that I have a toolbox. I'll have my son do a stencil for the top, and it will be a fantastic little toolbox. It is also on its way to Michigan, where it will be refinished and I can do the painting outside. I have a picture of my husband was rooting around in his cross-stitch fabric and projects that people have donated or given to him, and he came across 2 potholders. Now, I don't know what person thought it would be a great idea to make a white potholder. So it's going to get a little bit of rework. He did the cross stitch on the front that says Bon Appetit. His creation. But the hamburger and french fries were from a pattern. So I will have that finished to show you next time. It might have a little bit of fabric and a different edge on it. That's my vision anyway. I need to find that fast food fabric that I have hiding somewhere in here. I also have a surprise to show you next time. I want to finish it first. This is the first time I have used these little clips. My friend Barb bought these for me years ago for Christmas, and I've never really used them. And I just wanted to see how well, oh, they're game changer too. They're like that little chalk wheelie marker. Game changer. So, and people have been using them for years, and I was kind of holding out. Oh, I'm using my pins. Well, I'm tired of being stuck with pins when I am doing hand binding. So the clips are going to be used, or I should say they're being used for that hand binding. It will be fabulous. I think that's all I have to blab about today. See you on Monday when we talk about the intro to the applique series. It's easy if you try. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your support.